Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone to the third session of Ekiti Women in Management Learning Forum. My name is Oluwayomi Oshuntokun. I am the member of Ekiti Women in Management, handling the public affairs of the association. Please, I would like you to quickly go to the chat room. You will see our agenda there. And on that note, I would like to invite our coordinator, Mrs. Oyeyemi Kayode Ojo, who is also a permanent secretary, Capacity Development and Reform Department in Ekiti State, to give us her welcome address. Over to you, ma.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Oshuntokun. Good evening, everyone here. We are here again by the grace of God for another forum for the Women in Management Learning Forum. For those of us that are joining us for the first time, we'd like you to know that Ekiti Women in Management comprises of officers on grade level 15 and above in Ekiti State Public Service. And basically, our vision is to strengthen women in the public service for effective public service delivery. And our mission is to empower female officers effectively government service. To attain this our vision and mission, we participate in leadership development program. That is part of what we are doing today. We also imbibe healthy habits that will command respect among women and also the general public. Aside this, we constructively use our potentials to impact younger female officers in the service. That's why we have members across all cadres. We have lawyers among us, doctors, pharmacists, administrative officers, auditors, accountants that can bring up younger officers in these different cadres. Also, we use our potentials and resources to lift others up. For example, sometimes last year we had an outreach for the officers in the lower cadre in the service and those in difficult circumstances, where we gave them food items and some kitchen utensils and some other things. And then this year as well, we have collaborated with some group to reach out to people that are in difficult circumstances. Aside that collaborative effort, WIM as a body had reached out to people victims of accident and some other people that were affected in the public service. Like I said the other time, our membership cut across cadres, basically for officers on grade level 15 and above in Ekiti State Public Service. However, we have other cadres where we don't have 15 insufficient level 15 and 16 officers. In that wise, we draw from officers from level 14 in that kind of cadre so that they can be represented on our platform. We operate by attending to these challenges so as to bring support to people and then to prepare them for leadership position in the service. So we're able to do some of these things not only by effort, even though we have little amount that we contribute as token to our post. We also network with people in the public service, people that understand our vision so that we can be able to achieve our goals. On our finance, though we are not out to give out money like that to people, but when we see people that are in difficult situation, people that we know that by virtue of what they are going through, they need assistance, we can collaborate with people that can be of help to them. And then in the area of career, like I said, we have lawyers, we have admin officers, we have auditors. And so for younger officers that may be having challenges in their field of choice, all these officers will be able to attend to them. And our tentacle is spread also beyond the civil service because we also propose to reach out to children students in the public secondary school in Ekiti State by giving them support and then career counseling. We rise as well to defend the cause of female officers, particularly on sexual violence. And that's part of the reason why we are having the topic today on gender violence in the civil service, in the public service as a whole, and now to fight against such among us. So once again, I want to welcome everybody on board, and I say have a good time. Thank you very much, Mrs. Oshintokun. You can take on from there.
Thank you very much, Madam Coordinator. Please, next time I call on you to speak, kindly put on your camera. We would like to see your face, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if you check our agenda, you will know that the next thing now is the introduction of the resource person. Our resource person tonight is Mr. Wale Fapohunda, SAN. He's a two-term commissioner for justice and attorney general in Ekiti State. He is the first lawyer from Okemesi, Ekiti, his ancestral home, to attain the much coveted title of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN. Over the years, Mr. Olawale Fapohunda, SAN, has proved to be an agent of social re-engineering who has demonstrated a high level of professionalism and integrity, securing an enviable image for Ekiti State through his professional excellence. Under his watch as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, the Ministry of Justice has witnessed quite a number of developmental milestones, particularly in the area of policy change. He established the Ministry of Justice Academy, the first in Nigeria, and the Register of Sex Offenders in Ekiti State, which is also the first in Nigeria. He also published Victims Charter, a policy statement for victims of crime in Ekiti State, amongst so many others that time would allow us to mention on this platform. Dear Ekiti Women in Management members and other distinguished participants on this platform, Mr. Olawale Fapohunda, SAN, is a resource person this evening on the third edition of Ekiti Women in Management Learning Forum. It is a hope that we will all learn from his lecture titled Tackling Sexual and Gender-Based Violence, SGBV, in the Public Service, Role of Women in Management. On this note, I would like to thank the Honorable Commissioner for joining us. Thank you for joining us, sir. Honorable Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We'd like to see your face, Honorable Commissioner, sir.
I was first going to apologize for that. I'm supposed to be staying in one of the most expensive hotels in Lagos for our NBA conference, and they have serious network problems.
Okay.
So it's part of what we are struggling with as a country. So I have to balance my voice so today I apologize. You are going to be hearing from me. You will not be seeing me.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. We'll take the lecture from the Honorable Commissioner now. After that, we can take questions and contributions. Over to you now, Honorable Commissioner, sir.
Well, let me first thank the women in management for the invitation. I don't take it lightly. Thank you for the recognition that I may have something to contribute towards your ongoing conversation about what role you can appropriately play within the state public service. Now, quickly, there are a number of preliminary thoughts which I intend to share. The first, which I believe we should work against, is that of complacency. Now, we're just looking at the number of participants here, and I was asking my essay that how many participants should this kind of event expect, given the seriousness of the topic. And so was telling me that, I said, I'm sure we have a lot more than 50, 30 years. I said, okay, so which means that there's a need to further let our colleagues know about the seriousness of this issue. And that is my second theme, the seriousness of this issue. because I think one of the reasons why it appears as if we are not making progress on this issue now is because there's still a whole level of unseriousness with when we talk about it, particularly within the public service, and unseriousness on how we deal with it. But even what is worse is that of self-denial. This denial that it's a problem within our public service. So I think we need to find ways to ensure that we place this on very high up on the agenda of women in management. Now, because of the seriousness of the issue, what have we done in the Ministry of Justice? I'll just put out what we've done. I'm sure the personnel from the Ministry of Women Affairs will say what they have done. Now, for us, we recognize early, not just in FIEME 2, but what we also call FIEME 1. In FIEME 1, my thought then was an emerging issue. And I had thought that if we do not take immediate steps to begin to deal with this issue proactively, we will get to where we are now, where it will appear as if no matter what we throw at it, the problem just seems tractable. So our first intervention was first to identify that it's a problem and overcome the cynicism that had permeated the conversation before then, that it's not a problem, it's not a serious thing. So our ability to identify that it's a problem led to the quick enactment of a number of laws. And I believe that for women in management to even begin to talk rationally or seriously about this issue, you need to familiarize yourself with the legal framework. So we put across the gender-based violence prohibition law, which I strongly commend women in management to look at. I know there are a number of lawyers among you, certainly those from my ministry, are able to make that available in a simplified form. Of course, we also have the child rights law. I'm not going to go through all those laws because of time, but I know my colleagues from the ministry can always share details with you. So we have the child rights law, and the recent law that we had was the sexual violence against children compulsory treatment law. And that law was a knee-jerk reaction to what we discovered was the vogue, the increasing, the tragedy of the rape of minors. We suddenly discovered that it's no longer about women. It's no longer about women being raped. We had gotten to a stage where 3-month-old, 4-month-old, 7-year-old were now no longer out of bounds. And we had to enact that law so that at the very least, a minor that is raped will have immediate medical and psychological attention. Recently, we have undertaken a radical review of our criminal law of the state with an eye on ensuring that we give enough tools for our prosecutors to be in a position to successfully prosecute matters of sexual violence. Now, apart from the legal framework, we know that the law is not cannot be enough. We also put in place a number of policy in their very simplified form. For example, ours is one of those states that name and shame sex offenders, so that on conviction, we immediately publish the faces of such offenders. And we have done a lot now, and I think tomorrow we are going to probably publish another 3 or 4. So we consistently publish the faces of such offenders, their details, their last place of home address, and tell the world why they are in prison, what they did. For example, it's in prison because you raped a 4-month-old or you raped a 10-year-old or any other age. That we have done the name and shaming. We've done that to maximum effect. We have also taken zero tolerance policy with respect to prosecution a step further. We fight all bail applications, particularly when the victim is a minor. And the reason why we fight those applications is simply that in almost all the cases that we prosecute, we find that the victim, the perpetrator, always reaches out to the victim's family in terms of ensuring that they defeat the ends of justice. So, which is why we ensure that as a matter of policy in the Ministry of Justice, we fight all bail applications for victims. The second, for perpetrators. The second policy, which we also put in place, is to make sure that a convicted offender will not benefit, a convicted sex offender, a rapist, will not benefit from Mr. Governor's powers of review of mercy. Of course, as you may be aware, Mr. Governor has the constitutional right to grant pardon to persons who apply based on recommendations either by the prison authorities or by institutions, showing that the person has changed the new leave or, on any other ground. As a matter of policy, we do not support applications. They will not benefit for such early release from prison. The philosophy is that if you are caught, if you are convicted, if you are sentenced, you are going to likely spend all the time that you have been sentenced in the prison. The other policy which we put in place, also plea bargain. Of course, because of the uncertainty around our criminal justice system, we have introduced this measure whereby an accused person can just come to us and say, okay, with the weighty evidence against me, I concede, I want to plead guilty. So, in those cases, we sit down, we enter. Pleading guilty does not mean setting the person free. So, for example, if the person has been charged for a serious crime, we negotiate with the person's lawyer, with the consent of the person, and then we agree on a lesser charge. For rape matters, we do not entertain plea bargain. Now, the other policy which we have put in place, and I'm going through this very quickly, is the Victims' Charter. Now, if you look at our criminal justice system and all these policies that we put in place in response to the weakness of our criminal justice system, a person that is accused, so a person accused, the criminal justice system rather, appears only to be concerned with persons that are, the offender. Once the offender is arrested, is prosecuted, sentenced, as the case may be, nobody remembers the victim. This is more so in case of rape cases. We have tried to reverse that by enabling a policy that places the victim at the heart of the criminal justice system, which essentially is, letting the victim know, taking the victim through the system, information that the person has been arrested, this is what we are doing, and also exposing the victim to the opportunities for medical and psychological support. Of course, we have the Sexual Assault Referral Center, which is in the General Hospital. So that is part of the package that we put together for victims. Of course, you should know that the policy also goes hand in hand with our transit home. There's a home in the States now where we keep both mothers and children at risk. Those are part of the cocktail of the victims' protection that we have put in place. Now, within the service, I'm sure you are aware of the radical review of the public service rules. Now, what we did not have before, or what we had but was not affirmed before, is a policy around sexual harassment in the workplace. The revised public service rules has more or less taken care of that. So there's no confusion about what constitutes sexual harassment now in the workplace. It is clear. It is written in very simple terms in our revised public service rules. because we have insisted that, I mean, the public service is this huge institution. For us to be able to drum the message home, we have advocated that each ministry develops its own gender-based violence policy, and we decided to lead by example. So the Ministry of Justice has now the Ministry of Justice gender-based violence policy, and the purpose of that policy is to bring the conversation home, providing a clear guideline or guidance for lawyers and non-lawyers of the ministry with respect to our approach to these issues if we find any of us as victims. Now, I know that Ministry of Education appears to have drafted theirs, and I know a couple of others are working on it. So in broad terms, those are the legal and administrative interventions that we have put in place. Of course, I need not tell you that for us, we do not accept rape and beg. And I've drawn up a number of advisories to that effect. One of the things that is very common in Ekiti is that somebody rapes, and you find the family coming to the Attorney General to say, well, it's the devil, the person did not mean it, and the Attorney General should use his powers to forgive such person and let the person go scot-free. Now, after telling those persons severally that my office would not accept rape and beg, and they refuse to listen, I put up a policy which essentially now warned person who comes to the office to beg that they are liable to be arrested and charged with accessory after the fact of rape. Since the policy was put in place, the number of those coming to my office to beg me has diminished drastically. So we do not have rape and beg. Now, that is where we are. So moving forward, it's now 2 months to the end of Fayemi's administration. What are my fears? My number one fear, and I've said this at multiple platforms, is sustainability. How do we ensure that the efforts of the past initial 2 years and now 4 years is not lost? Now, we have done a lot in terms of our approach. You cannot deny that we have political will. We also have the energy to do this. But my number one fear is that I am not sure that we have succeeded in carrying along the public servants across the ministry, particularly the two important ministries. 2 months now or even less than that, to the end of the Fayemi administration. And the key issue that I'm constantly asked, not only within Ekiti, but across the country, is, so what next? How are we sure that all the work we have put in place with respect to this issue of gender-based violence is not lost? So I was saying that my number one fear is whether we have done enough to ensure that the policies, the philosophy, the will permeates the state civil service. And that's why I worry. Now, in the first place, it seems to me that the gamut of our civil service is still in denial. And that worries me, despite everything we have done, despite, the evidence to the contrary, that this is overwhelming. The bulk of civil service appear largely to be in denial, particularly with respect to some public servants, especially women public servants, who suffer some of the worst form of domestic and gender-based violence. And I say this with a sense of authority because every other day I get phone calls. I not only get phone calls, I get videos, I get pictures. And that is part of what concerns me. The more pictures and phone calls I get, the more worried I am, because it cannot be about the Attorney General. If now with 2 months to go, despite everything we have done, the recourse is that to the Attorney General, then I worry. Then that means that we have still not done enough to ensure that female public servants have access to guidance, to counseling, and to support. And I keep telling the former, I always had this issue with the former head of service and the PSS staff, that for some reason, women in public service who suffer this horrendous violence, they are still in the closet. They don't come out. And they don't come out because it is assumed. I'm not sure whether there is any evidence for such assumption, but it is assumed that there's a lot of petty gossip within the service, so that nobody wants her business to be public business. And and when you hear what your colleagues are going through, it's heartrending. You do not think that this is happening in Ekiti. And a number, I'm just going through my text messages, and a number, I'm a woman that her husband, a director in the public service of 20 or so years married. The husband just woke up one day and said he does not enjoy vaginal sex anymore, that he now wants anal sex. And that has been a subject of physical violence, certainly for over the past 6 months. That is still ongoing. There is another case of another director whose husband only gets aroused after beating her. And I'm not talking about slap, I'm talking about serious beating. It's only when she starts screaming, a director in a public service, only when she starts screaming that her husband is able to get it up. There's another one too, whose husband, whose public servant husband. She's not a public servant, but she has a public servant husband, one of your colleagues, I dare say, who only gets it up by getting his friends who are in the public service to come and sleep with his wife. That is only when he gets it up. And when the wife said, look, I'm not doing it again, it became a major issue. She's thrown out and she's beaten. This morning, I dealt with the case of a cashier who has just given birth. She's just a 3-month-old baby. And she's been getting slaps from the husband because the husband told her that, look, one part of your breast is for your baby, the other part is mine. And so, old man, I was asking, is your husband a baby? No, husband is 50. One part of your breast is for the baby, another part of your breast is mine. So while the baby is sucking one side of the breast, the husband wants to be sucking the other side of the breast. Yeah, I mean, when you listen to this, people now say, come on, Attorney General, it can't happen in Ekiti. Ekiti, we have these high moral values. And I look at them and say, how? That is part of the problem. We all keep thinking that because we are very godly, or we say we are godly, everybody goes to church. Because we say we are godly, because on Sundays our churches are filled, our mosques are filled, these things don't happen. Because at every public service meeting that you go to, the first thing is let us pray. Because in public service meetings, you have prayer sessions. So people just don't think that how is it possible that a public service that starts with prayers and ends with prayers will have this horrendous form of violence going on. But it is there. It is there. And you need for women in management, please, my plea to you as I bow out of government. Don't hide it. The more you hide this, the more we are not able to talk about it, the more it emboldens the perpetrator. Because if you are not complaining about it, if it's not discussed, then person continue. They continue along those routes. But if there is one single, and I'm always wary of giving multiple suggestions because I know this is public service. If there is one single intervention, and I'll end with this, if there is one single intervention that I think women in management can contribute to the safety of your colleagues in our state public service, is that of establishing a safe space for women. I know that gender-based violence is gender neutral. Men also go through, at least I've gotten reports of men, but of the overwhelming majority, and my concern for the purpose of this lecture is women. So if there's one safe space where I think that women in management can contribute to this discussion and save your colleagues, it is establishing a safe space. Many of your colleagues want somebody to talk to. Many of your colleagues want somebody to hold their confidence. Many are not coming out because there is nobody to talk to. And on our part, if you talk to me, I have no skills. I have no skills in guidance and counseling. When you talk to me as attorney, the first thing that comes to my mind is, do you want me to prosecute? And they'll be the first to say, no, we don't want you to prosecute. That is fine. So in many cases, we remove the victim. There's a hotel now that I've had an agreement with. What I do is that, we just deposit something in that hotel. Nobody else knows about the hotel except me and 2 or 3 of my team. So once we get complaints, particularly by our female civil servants, once they complain to me, we remove them from their house with their kids and put them in that that hotel for a period. But what do you have? Because they cannot stay in that hotel forever. So you find that in most cases than none, our intervention is just temporary. The moment is when 1 week, the maximum we've had now is 3 weeks. I think I still have somebody there now for the past 3 weeks. But the person is already saying, I want to go back home. So what you have is a scenario where after this period, which the way I justify it is the cooling period for the man, the female public servant, and I'm using those words deliberately, they have to go back home again to the same person. So I think what we need, what I hope that women in management can contribute is, let us develop a safe space where you probably have retired, maybe not serving, retired senior civil servants who have high integrity, who can be your guardian, who can be guardian and counselors, who can at least listen, give comfort, and give advice. That is what is missing in the present regime. Even our sexual assault referral center, there's several women who come to us, including public servants, who say, look, I've been raped. My husband has raped me. The mentality that your husband cannot rape you is false. They come, my husband has raped me or my husband has sodomized me. And I said, okay, what do you want to do? Go to our sexual assault referral center. And I keep referring them to our sexual assault referral center. Unknown to me, they don't even go there. So I discovered with shock when at the end of the quarter, I now asked the coordinator that I need to see the statistics. And I said, no, this cannot be right, because from my own end, I have sent about 20 women to you. Why are you now giving me this? No, but they don't go there. So we need to deal with this within the public service space. So that's how I'm going to end this. Just to thank you again for the invitation. I'll be happy to take questions. And with respect to the documents that we have, I'm sure your colleagues who are in my ministry are able to provide all the documents. Any other I've mentioned, my advice document that you think is useful, that will further enable you all to have a better understanding of the issue. We have it in the Ministry of Justice. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, sir. We are indeed pleased with all you have spoken tonight. And some of what you said are quite disheartening. We hope that we can get better. At this point, I know some people are joining us after the break. Our resource person has been the Honorable Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General in Ekiti State, Honorable Wale Fapohunda. He's spoken so much. If you wish to ask him questions, he's still with us. If you wish to contribute, kindly indicate so that I will call you. You will unmute yourself and then you will ask your question. If you wish to contribute or ask questions, please indicate now. Diola? Yeah. Dr. Lomo Jobi, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, ma. You can unmute yourself and let us have your contribution or question, ma. Dr. Lomo Jobi, please.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And thank you, our very amiable Commissioner for Justice. I just want to thank you for this forum and for what we have listened to today. The Commissioner has spoken it all. We need safe space for women generally. My contribution would be that at the moment, I'm aware that the World Bank is supporting us to start safe shelters, one per local government area. My experience with SACS has been that it's getting overwhelming. You recall that we have a transit home here in Ado-Ekiti. At the last SGBV meeting, we highlighted that there's a need for us to have a dashboard in Ekiti State, a central dashboard that tracks what we're doing with every victim or survivor. So my suggestion would be that as women in management, we collaborate. If this framework goes well, which I think it is going well, because I think we have a little funding for that, to join this train of supporting safe shelters across the 16 local government area. It comes with need for not just infrastructure, like the Commissioner has said, very experienced counselors to work within those centers. The SAC centers will provide medical support, will provide immediate response to sexual assault, but we need a place where these women can stay, be empowered, and be translated back into the society. And if we can attract any form of funding, we should also think of empowering the women. I believe that an empowered woman is better able to mitigate these issues better than those who feel that they're entirely dependent on others. Thank you. That will be my contribution for now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Folakemi Olomojobi, PAMSEC, Ministry of Education. We thank you for your contribution. Honorable Commissioner, sir, for want of lack of time, since we are no longer on the licensed app, please, I would like you to, Honorable Commissioner, sir, are you listening to me?
Yes,
Honorable,
I am here.
Please, sir, I would like you to go through the chat room so that you can take questions too. Now we'll take them once and for all because we do not have the luxury of time now. I think you get me, sir. Please go to the chat room. There's some questions for you so that you take them together. Thank you, sir. I can see another. This is Okoyemi Abayomi. I think this is the Honorable, the PAMSEC staff. Honorable, Mr. Okoyemi Abayomi. Please, you can unmute and ask your question now.
Thank you, the moderator. Foremost, I want to appreciate the Ekiti State Women in Management for organizing this very beautiful seminar. I also want to appreciate you for allowing me, a man, to be a part of this discussion. Next, I want to appreciate the Honorable Commissioner, Honorable Wale Fapohunda, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for his passion for the emancipation of women and for the very keen interest that the Honorable Commissioner has shown in ensuring that gender-based violence is reduced to the barest minimum in Ekiti State. The Honorable Commissioner, sir, incidentally, not too long ago, I led a group of people to your office to talk on this particular subject. Consequent upon the meeting that we held with the with the immediate past head of service in Ekiti State, that's Mrs. Kweju Babafemi. Your good self attended that meeting, and the issue of gender-based violence in the public service, was raised by you. Consequent upon that, a committee was set up to look at the issues within the public service, and incidentally, I happen to be the chairman of that committee. At that meeting, Honorable Commissioner, the immediate past head of service made a contribution, and that's to the fact that sometimes women, who of course are the major victims of violence, either in the workplace or in the society, that most of the time they find it more convenient to talk to men than to women. Perhaps that is what is responsible for the very low information that women in management that they have on this subject. I believe there is a need for us to look at that issue critically. And of course, for members of that committee, or the women in management, there's a need for, since these are people that are very high in the public service, I think there's a need for them to re-strategize and to talk to themselves. You see, in those days, people say a problem shared is 50% solved. But these days, a problem shared is a subject for gossip. And of course, women are the greatest culprits in this. So there's a need for women in management, for the members, to show high sense of responsibility so that when people come to them with these issues, they will feel safe to discuss these issues with them. My second contribution will be in the area of information. Her Excellency, the wife of the governor, has done so much on the issue of gender-based violence. The committee that has been set up, of which Her Excellency is the chairman or the chairperson, and they've been moving around local governments to, inform the public about these issues. But you discover that even within the public service, information is rather low. So I believe there is a need to sensitize the public service more on what is available, on the mechanisms that have been put in place by government to ensure that the issues of gender-based violence are addressed. So there's a need, and incidentally, that's one of the things that the committee will be recommending to government, that there's a need to carry out a lot of, information, to inform the people about the existence of the mechanisms that have been put in place by government. Finally, I want to appreciate the Attorney General for the wonderful work that you've been doing, and for this very beautiful lecture that you've been able to deliver tonight. I want to thank you, sir. Thank you.
And we need to stop about 8:10, and this is 8:01. Doyin Ajayi, please kindly unmute and ask your question.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, moderator.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, mine is not really a question. Mine is a suggestion. I work with the State University Teaching Hospital, where the Assault Center is located. And I think I have a little experience about what the Attorney General said, that after he gives referral to the place, people will not go. Traditionally, we Ekiti people, we are secretive. Perhaps if the Attorney General or the government can have a rethink about the people working there. People like to confide in people whom they believe will keep their secrets. I've not said the people working there cannot keep secrets, but there are too many people working there. Perhaps if there are lesser people working there, people who are really volunteers, who are not just posted from one ministry or from somewhere to the place, people who are volunteers, people who are of age, perhaps retired nurses, retired teachers, who are disciplined, who can keep secrets. People have not been going there due to the fact that they believe their secrets might be in the open. And one of the ways that can be curbed is perhaps having lesser people to work there so that people will know too many people are involved in their matter. Not too many people knows their secret, because traditionally here, we believe we are so secretive. We keep secrets a lot. I believe that will work I work with State University Teaching Hospital. I'm a nutritionist dietitian. I work there and I see some cases. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Doyin Ajayi. We appreciate your contributions. Adenito Olufisoye, please introduce yourself and ask your question. Kindly unmute. Adenito Olufisoye, please introduce yourself and ask your question or contribution quickly, please.
Good evening. My name is Olufisoye Adenito. I work with Radio Nigeria, Positive FM Akure. I want to thank the women in management for this great opportunity to be part of this meeting tonight. And I also want to appreciate the commissioner for all the lecture he has delivered to us tonight. I have two questions. My first question is that, number one, I discovered from my findings and investigation that a lot of women, apart from the fact that they are being assaulted by their husband, a lot of them are being, their husband, they collect most of their salaries, they don't have access to their finance. Most of them, and when you try to educate them that they don't need to to submit all their salaries to their husband, they tell you that they try to back it up with Bible. Maybe most of them has been brainwashed by our religious organizations or our religious leaders. So I just believe that the women in management should try as much as possible to help us educate women. And if there is anything that the Ministry of Justice can also do to further educate our women, especially the women who are in IKEDA, in the civil service, because I've spoken to about 3-4 women who are even level 15 officers who are in this category, and they find it difficult to get out of it because they don't want their marriage to collapse. Then another question I would like to ask is, in Ekiti State, there is a policy. I want to use this opportunity to bring this to the notice of the commissioner. There is a policy in Ekiti State that allows teenage girls to be in school, despite the fact that they are pregnant. And most of these girls, they are willing to stay. But the fact remains that most of their teachers, maybe because the teachers are not properly educated to tolerate these girls, they try to brainwash them and talk to them in a manner that these girls are discouraged to want to continue their education. I don't know, maybe the commissioner is aware of this. So I want to use this opportunity to bring it to the notice of the commissioner. From the report I did sometimes ago, I discovered that most of these girls, they confided in me, some from Ikoli local government, some from Ekiti Southwest local government. They confided in me that despite the fact that there is a policy that allows them to stay in school, they are being victimized by their teachers. The teachers use vulgar language and they are discouraged to continue with their education. So I don't know, whatever the Ministry of Justice can do or the Honorable Commissioner can do to ensure that teachers are educated. Since this policy is in place, the teachers should try as much as possible to tolerate these girls and even encourage them so that they will stay in school. Apart from the fact that they will be using words that will discourage them to continue their education. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Olufisoye. Honorable Commissioners, I would like to take your response now because our time is, we have less than 8 minutes.
In 1 minute, let me just quickly do 1 minute. Yes, I pay homage to Mrs. Babafemi for her groundbreaking role in all this. She's done extremely well putting this women in management together and raising these issues. Yes, I agree that men should also be engaged, particularly men in public service should be engaged. Yes, we need to do a lot more in terms of ensuring that our teachers respond to the policy of the state government in terms of not sending girls who are pregnant out of school. There's a lot we need to do in that area. Yes, there is a need for more data, but the difficulty with data is that, when we want to now formalize a complaint, it's always a problem. Then you find the victim not wanting to write anything down, that they just want to talk to you. So that is a problem. Is it reducing? Is gender-based violence reducing? If you ask me, it's difficult to tell. There's still a lot of unreported matters going on. What I know is that those that come before us, we aggressively prosecute. On the issue of hotel raised by the director of the Ministry of Women Affairs, that is our own last resort. Yes, we have the transit home, but as you will find, these violence are perpetrated sometimes midnight. So what we do is to get our security team to go and rescue the victim. And in almost all of those cases, always midnight or past midnight, and then it's not a permanent location. We just, it's an intervention, an immediate intervention to save the life of the victim. I absolutely agree on the need to professionalize SACS. I've gotten that complaint multiple times. We're working on that to see that those that are there are those that really need to be there and professional to the core. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Thank you for your contributions. We thank you for your time, sir. At this point, I don't think we can take any more question or contribution. We have just 5 minutes more. So I would like to quickly call on Mrs. Shola Gbenga-Igotun to give us the vote of thanks so that we can wrap up the session. Mrs. Shola Gbenga-Igotun, kindly unmute yourself and give the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Madam Cole.
Hello? Hello, Mrs. Igotun? Hello, Mrs. Igotun? Please go ahead.
The Commissioner for Justice, Honorable Wale Fapohunda, SAN, for his time. The lecture has been very enlightening. It's an eye-opener to so many of us and is actually educative. We want to say thank you very much for giving us your time to learn and to see that there's a problem and there are ways that we can actually combat them. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. I want to appreciate all the permanent secretaries on the platform, especially our mentor, Dr. Folakemi Olomojobi. Thank you for your time now and thank you for your contribution. Our own boss and the Balogun all the time. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. For all our members and friends, we say thank you. Let's do this again while we bring another topic that is enriching. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. On that note, we close the session. Sometime again very soon, we shall be talking here. Thank you once again.
Thank you.